You having a stressful day and need a few laughs? Well, you come to the right place. Myself, Lyrican, Jimmy Jam are fathers formerly in the music industry who have a lot to say. So sit back, sip your cup of coffee, and welcome to the shenanigans.
In 5, 4,
Welcome
3.
to the Coffee Break Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. Episode number 13. It's not scary, but, over-caffeinated. With your favorite host, Lyrican, and my brother,
Jimmy Jam.
Welcome, everybody. How's everybody feeling today? Salud.
Welcome to the Coffee Break Podcast.
Brother, we had a great week.
I did. How was yours?
Getting ready for the Easter holiday.
It is. It is Easter weekend, and we're recording.
Oh, yeah, we recorded a day early, so we have our family time. We're very family-oriented.
Very much so, as you know, from listening and watching.
Being Papa Bears. You wearing your suit? You going to break out the bunny suit this year?
No, I think I'm going to leave the bunny suit behind. I am going with a nice little plaid, blues, greens, kind of like Easter festive shirt.
Festive. So, I have an odd question I have a very big, not issue, but quirk with Easter.
Okay, what is it?
I understand the holiday of Easter, of what it means religiously wise. I understand family oriented wise, but why is it so surrounded by a bunny that poops hard-boiled eggs that are colorful? Where did that come from? Like Christmas, I understand where Santa Claus came from.
Sure.
From, Nicholas Claus. I know where the leprechaun kind of came from for St. Patrick's Day. The little you in your little diaper on Valentine's Day.
Well, yeah. I look good in that, though.
Yeah, you do.
Thanks.
Bad tan line.
I know.
But why a bunny that poops hard-boiled eggs that are colorful?
I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we should... Does anyone out there know? If you do, please send it to us and let us know why the bunny represents Easter and why there's eggs coming out of the bunny's butt.
Yeah, I didn't know. I did try to find an answer, and all I heard was bunnies represent fertility and a new beginning. But I'm like, still, why is it pooping hard-boiled eggs that are colorful?
Yeah, I don't get why the egg is what the symbolization of the egg is.
I even looked at, like, religious-wise, like, Jesus came back, quick, hide the eggs. Like, where did that go?
Yeah,
I just don't understand.
I don't get it.
We still celebrate it, and I hope everybody has a magnificent Easter day. Find all the eggs. I prefer anything peanut butter-wise.
I'm the same way.
And we'll take it all. So... no cookouts, nothing?
No cookouts, nothing. We're going to...
So you're just a glamping king, not the Chef Boyardee of the grill?
Oh, for Father's Day a year ago, Christy bought me this grill that has a gas grill, has a charcoal grill, and has a smoker on it. So you can do all three things in one.
So you're Gordon Ramsay?
No, because I have yet to smoke anything on this thing. I don't know how to do it. I did try to smoke chicken, but I didn't put enough charcoal in, so the chicken stayed raw, and I had to move it over to the other side to cook it, and it was just so I haven't done anything since.
Have you screamed at it?
I kicked it.
So you're kind of Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, a little bit. I cursed a little bit, not too much, but
well, we got all the glitz and glance for the girls this year, so I might fire up the grill. It's still kind of depending on the weather. Got a few hot dogs and hamburgers we can throw in there. You can never go wrong with hot dogs and hamburgers. But Easter. So, with that being said, how about we move to some topics?
I'm always ready for the topics.
Well,
what do you got for me this week?
Well, we all know, before we start off, let's start off with something a little serious.
Okay.
A legend is having issues with his health. Reportedly, a little while ago, a legend DMX is in the hospital. A lot of conflicting stories on what's going on, so we're not going to comment too much.
No.
I grew up and I love DMX. I was a huge DMX fan. I still am. I know he dealt with a lot of mental health issues and abuse, and I know for the past several years he was clean, and he was working on a new album, and apparently he hung around a few people that weren't his friends, and now he's in a very serious situations. And we here at the podcast, we love X and we hope him the best in a speedy recovery. We need our dog back because, he's a very big staple in hip hop.
Yeah, it's definitely a shame whatever's going on. I like you said, I don't know enough to comment. I just know that we want to send him a blessing of recovery, hopefully, and whatever demons he's been fighting, that he's able to find his way through.
Prayers, brother, prayers. So with that, let's move on to something a little lighter. Mr. News Anchor, Jimmy Jam. I know you got something funny for us this week.
I do. And I had a couple of stories. I went over them and I thought, no, does this work? Does that work? And I wound up on this one because I think it's pretty. I'm gonna tell you the story and then I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Okay.
Right, let's see what we got.
So this happened in Sparta, Tennessee. Tennessee man was able to turn his luck around after finding his missing $1 million winning lottery ticket in a parking lot, where he dropped it on a blustery afternoon. Nick Slayton learned on March 11th that he won a drawing matching all the numbers on a ticket worth $1.178 million, said the Tennessee Lottery. When he did win, he brought at a local grocery store on March 10th. He rushed to his fiance's workplace to share the news with her. Then he continued to run errands, including taking his brother to buy a car part, followed by a stop for lunch, all while he still had the ticket. He didn't go and say, hey, I just won this lottery. He just told his girlfriend, his brother, they went to lunch. Within an hour, his excitement turned to panic because when he realized he didn't have the ticket anymore. So to make matters worse, if a player loses an unsigned ticket, which he didn't sign it, whoever finds it can claim that ticket.
Wow.
So he went back and retraced all his steps, and it took him back to the auto parts store that he took his brother to. And luckily, to his finding, there lying on the ground was his unclaimed ticket. So my question to you, what would you do if you found a lottery ticket laying on the ground? Now, you don't know if it's a winner or not. What if you found a lottery ticket and you found out it was a winner? Would you turn it in? Would you cash it in? What's the right thing to do, or what would you do? I don't know. I would like to say I'd do the right thing, but I'd also say I'd like to pay for the upgrades to the golf cart.
Now, you could take finding that ticket as one of two things. Maybe the blessing is you were supposed to find that ticket.
He was meant to have that ticket.
That guy was meant to. That was that the My Name is Earl guy?
Yeah.
Because that's what it exactly sounded like.
He was meant to win that ticket. He was meant to win that lottery. And, to have luck hit you twice, the fact that he won it the first time, turn around, loses the ticket, spends the day retracing his steps, goes back to where one of the first stops he was, and there it is on a blustery day laying on the ground.
I think my stomach would be kind of
I'd be
sick. But if I would be randomly walking around and I would find a ticket, like, oh, let me go check this ticket, scan it and find out that it's the big ticket, I would have to sit there and actually think, because, I'm a father. I got things I got to take care of.
Yeah.
So I would have to depict whether that ticket was meant to find me or if my purpose is to give it back.
And that's where
that is a very hard decision, because everybody, no matter how comfortable you are in life, it's always good to have
an extra
money.
Sure. And we, like you said, we'd want to take care of our family. I joke around about the golf cart, but to be able to, pay off my
son's gold rims, by the way.
To be able to pay my son's education in full.
Yeah.
To set up for that summer wedding with Christy, to make sure, her kids have an education fund.
With what flowers?
Lilies.
Okay. Just making sure.
Thanks for the blueprint. But just to make sure everyone was taking care of my parents, that would be nice to be able to do that. But at the same time, is it the right thing to do when you find something that's truly not yours and you didn't spend the money to earn it?
Because you could take, like I said, you would have to sit there and ponder whether that ticket wasn't meant for that guy. That person who would have took that money and done obscene, stupid things with the money.
Yeah.
And maybe it was blown away on purpose by the graces of God and finds you. And maybe you're the one that deserves the blessing, because we both work hard. We both do everything we're supposed to do. So maybe it's our turn to have the blessing. You never know, because you never know.
Would you honestly, I know we said we'd be sick to our stomachs. I think I would be in tears if I lost a ticket.
I'd have diarrhea. I have to stop at a few places and clean out, because I would be so worried and so stressed. I would just have to poop.
Is that what happens to you? I don't want to know this.
Oh my God!
I'm your partner on this podcast, but
just don't stress me out. We'll be all right.
Yeah, all right. Thanks. So let me ask you this. Okay, so a guy crying makes him vulnerable.
Yes. Does that make him weak?
That's a good question. That's where I was going with this.
Okay.
So to discuss this topic, I think, I feel there's been times where I've been emotional in my life. Giving up the golf cart for the season was one, apparently. If you listen to episode 12, that
Bendito.
was... I know. But all kidding aside about any of that, there's times where I've been emotional over, a death, a joyous occasion, even a television show or a movie. They can draw you in. Endgame, that every time chokes me up.
Tony Stark, don't talk about it.
Does that make me weak?
That's still fresh wound. As men, we are force-fed that we need to be tough. We are the backbone of a family. We are supposed to be the breadwinners. We're supposed to be caretakers of our family. We're supposed to be the toughest person in the world when it comes to our family. But I think in doing so, you're robbing yourself of emotions. There's times where me and my wife talk and conversate, and it gets you emotional because you talk about certain things that bring emotions out of you. And for a while, I wouldn't cry, because I'm not supposed to cry, because I'm supposed to be the strong guy.
Yeah.
And you grow to learn that robbing yourself of joyful emotions that would bring tears, or sorrow that brings tears, or even just having those emotions watching a movie or listening to a song, is actually feels good to your soul. There's songs that I've cried to. I'm like, wow, that song spoke to here. There's things in the past that a brother has told me, or I've seen, that brings a different side, and I finally understand that it's okay to have those emotions, because that's what makes you a person, and your significant other actually enjoys those other emotions with you.
I think it's okay to be vulnerable. I think it makes you human. There's there's so many things that make you human. It's not just an emotion. It could be a smell, for example. Okay. If I smell honeysuckle, it takes me back to my childhood when I used to play Little League Baseball over by Wheatland Junior High School, which is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Lancaster, Pennsylvania. But, there was a ball diamond there, and there was a fence, and they grew honeysuckle, and it took over that whole area. You would smell it on a summer day.
I remember.
And that brings back my childhood. So I think there's certain things, and that's a good emotion. That's a good feeling that when I remember that. And I think there's certain things that trigger emotions, not at what you're watching at the moment, but maybe it triggers a memory or a feeling.
Mm-hmm. There's certain things like that. Like my wife cooks Spanish food, but there's times where she cooks certain things and I get a whiff of a smell, and I remember times with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And there's a song that plays, and it seems to always play when I'm either thinking really hard about something, and it reminds me of my grandfather. Hotel California
by the Eagles.
It was his favorite song, and I literally the other day on Friday at work, I'm like, damn, we were getting our behinds handed to us because nobody was working and everybody was coming in to buy everything. We were nonstop since we opened, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm dead tired. That damn song came on, and it gave me a sense of pride and energy, and it's just feelings that I was like, wow, I just remember my grandfather, and my emotions make me want to make him proud, because even though he's not here, I still wanted to make him proud. And I'm just like, emotions like that get me.
I agree with you 100%. There's things that just bring out that raw emotion, whether it be a song, a movie, a television show, a conversation can even bring it out. It can reflect a memory. Something that's very sensitive to me is I lost two very, very good friends that I went to high school with to car accidents. One a year and a half after we graduated, and one not that many years ago. And there's songs like It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday by Boys to Men. Mm. That is a trigger for, I will tear up. And because I think of that emotion comes raw to my mind. It takes me back to the feeling that I had when I heard I lost them. And it's an impact on the way I feel, and it changes my emotion at that time because it brings the tears. And the other one is, I cannot think of the song, but it's from The Fast and Furious. It has the guy who sings Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow.
Oh, yeah, I know which one.
And a top 40 artist, it
was Wiz Khalifa.
Wiz Khalifa, yes. And
I can't remember who sings it.
But, we would have looked it up if we knew we were going to talk about this topic, but we didn't. So I can't think of his name. But that song is another one that brings raw emotion to the forefront.
Yeah, there's a few. But as a man now, I wish I would have been able to express more emotions earlier, because I think not expressing emotions and being so hard stopped me from enjoying moments in life.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that.
And it's okay to be a man and be emotional.
I think it makes you human.
Yeah. Makes you a person. It makes you... And I think that's one thing that makes, going back to a previous topic we talked about, makes romance and a relationship with your significant other more stronger when you're able to express those emotions, whether it's sad or happy, and you can go through those emotions together and you can heal or grow from those emotions.
Yeah. It's good to be able to let your guard down, so to speak, have that connection with your partner and, truly be yourself. Christy would probably tell me to get my testicles back, but
they're in her purse. No, but yeah, I think to wrap up the topic, it's okay to be emotional and be a man. Be a man about it and just be emotional.
There's a man that I think that listens to us. Steve and his wife Jen, they listen to us weekly. As you know, they comment. They reached out.
Big shout out to both of you for listening and
thank you very much.
But he
got choked up.
Yeah.
Over
Tom Brady.
Having to talk about Tom Brady.
We had but this goes back to our conversation last week on where Tom Brady was fitting in the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. And they decided to give us their own list. And ironically, my list isn't that far off their list.
Keep in mind, what we did last week on the podcast was from Ryan Clark of ESPN. That was his take on the top 5. I failed to know who my barber subpoena liked as a team, and I got called out on it on Instagram.
She rock bottom and laid the smackdown on you.
Yes, I was Stone Cold Steve Austin into the ground. She does like the Colts. Peyton Manning is her hero. So shout out to Subpoena. Sorry I messed that up.
Well,
which leads us to Steve's top 5.
Well, before I go to the top 5, Safina, I'm going to be a Cole fan. I'm a huge Carson Wentz guy. I love my Eagles, but I'm a huge Carson guy.
So you're going to leave the Eagles and go to the Colts?
I'm going to root for my Eagles, but I'm a quietly root for the Colts.
All right.
Well,
So let's talk about Steve's top 5.
All right. So I believe his 5th person was not Patrick Mahomes.
No, it was definitely not Patrick Mahomes. Started with the same initials, though.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Okay. Great quarterback.
I think he's a stand-up quarterback, one of the best there is.
Can read a defense and rip them apart. Woo. Their number 4 was your hero.
Yeah.
You have underoos of him. You have the whole outfit, I think, upstairs.
I do. I secretly dream of
Will Ferrell.
Yeah. Big Ben. Now, I know everyone knows I'm a diehard Steelers fan. I think Steve and Jen are as well, and I give them credit for putting Big Ben in at number 4.
Number 3 was the guy that I actually grew up watching. My stepfather was a huge 49er guy. So I grew up, before I understood football, I would root for the Niners because my stepfather rooted for the Niners. And Mr. Montana, number 3 on their list.
Number 3, Joe Montana.
Which he's a great quarterback. He did magnificent work over there. Number 2 was somebody that wasn't on the first list.
He wasn't on at all, but we've talked about him, and he's been a topic on our show. So number 2 comes in with Mr. Drew Brees himself.
They couldn't have given Drew Brees the Patrick Mahomes spot last time. And
number 1.
Jimmy Jams has wet dreams about him. I'll let you announce it.
Oh, God. Why are you making me do this again? It chokes me every time. All the coffee I'm drinking comes up. Tom Brady.
So their list, and I look at their list. Their list isn't that far off of my list. Now, I had Big Ben at 4 or at 5, and I had Peyton Manning at 2, Drew Brees at 4, and I would leave Montana and Brady where they're at.
See, now I would have, looking at the board, I'd have Montana at 2. Drew Brees at 3, Manning at 4, Big Ben at 5. And yes, I would leave Tommy Brady there.
Tommy boy.
Now, I know Subpoena's going to shave Peyton Manning into the back of my head for putting him at number 5, but what makes you a GOAT? We talked about that.
Yeah.
You know, greatest of all time. Does it mean that you're playing now? Does it mean that you played in the past? What makes you great?
See, I would prefer a GOAT conversation being somebody who's not playing but made that much of an impact that they have to be on that catalog. That's why I even take that as far as when I say who's the best rapper alive. You have to have a certain amount of albums to be even put in that category. As a quarterback, you need to have accomplished so many things. Now, my question to you is, can you be the GOAT and not win a Super Bowl? Which everybody on that list has won Super Bowls. Which, you know, number 1 has won more Super Bowls than number 4.
Yeah, I know. For now. Yeah, I think you can be great and not have a W behind your name. I think you can represent greatness in who you are, what you do, and how you do it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I agree. You can be great and not get that Super Bowl, but I think in order to be in the GOAT conversation,
you need to have a win.
You should at least have one Super Bowl in your catalog.
Okay. I respect that.
Yeah. I mean, Tom Brady's just defied all of those and still playing. And now, if he would take the Jets or the Browns to the Super Bowl, he might be the football god, but
I don't see it happening. I mean, it's a great list. I commend Steve. I think he did a really good job. I want to thank him for reaching out to us today and sharing with us. This is what we want, the interaction with our listeners. We want to know what you're thinking about on our topics and what your opinions are. And we'll talk about them. We'll bring it up.
So with that, we got the draft coming up. We traded our number 6 spot for the number 12. But I can't wait for football season to come. Football in general, when it came on during the whole COVID thing, it was a relief. It was a sense of normalcy for a lot of people. Just sports in general, like baseball just came back on.
Yeah.
And go Phils, by the way. But the sense of normalcy starting to feel like things are starting to get back to the way we love watching Sunday and hanging around and watching football.
Hopefully we can see more people in the crowd and less cardboard cutouts. That would be nice.
Oh, the commissioner said that he expects full capacity by mid-season this year at all stadiums. He's working with every governor. He's working with every stadium to put every precaution in place. He's funding safety protocols for everything to have crowds at games.
That would be nice because I think things are slowly getting back to normalcy. I think they're opening things up tonight in our area where we're from. They're going to, I think, 75% capacity for indoor dining. You can sit at a bar again and not have to order food to sit there and have a drink because apparently, and I'm not getting political with anybody or anything, but you won't catch COVID if you have a meal and a beer. But if you don't have the meal and just the beer, you could catch COVID.
And then after 12 o'clock.
Yes, after 12 o'clock is when the fairy godmother takes away the COVID.
All jokes aside, we want to wish all our DJ friends, all our friends and family that are out, just be safe.
Get back to life, but take care of yourself.
Keep your head on our shoulders and just be safe and be fun.
Yeah.
So, getting ready to be warm outside, but there's still some good TV shows out there.
There are.
What are you watching?
Well, I did get all caught up on the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Thank you. I understand what you were talking about last week on, the topics that they brought to the forefront. very sensitive. They were very well done. They brought some serious race topics right to the screen, but didn't point it out in your face. Mm-hmm. They did it subtle, tastefully. Mm-hmm. Yes, very well done. This week's episode was probably the longest of the 6 I think that they're running.
Yes.
But what caught my eye this week was actually something from the 90s. Mm-hmm. And if I say quack, 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 everybody knows what I'm talking about. The Flying V. Mighty Ducks. So,
who was your favorite Mighty Duck?
I still, even though he's not a Mighty Duck, but the leader of the Mighty Ducks, Gordon Bombay, he was, he put the team together and they weren't great.
Bombay. Sounds familiar. I think I just dropped a song called Bombay.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Isn't that amazing?
I like how you did that. It's very smooth of you.
See, I think of you.
Cadillac smooth. I was always a big fan of the goalie. The goalie was always my favorite.
But the goalie in this series looks like the goalie in
I noticed
the original. But, the goalie in the series was on America's Got Talent. If you Google it, he was a singer on America's Got Talent. I believe it was 3 seasons ago. So check him out. And the little guy that everyone makes fun of in the show is actually a rapper and actor from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So representing our home state.
Oh, yeah. Actually, the crazy thing is, the Saved by the Bell reboot?
Yeah, I didn't
Well, not the reboot, but the continuation of it. My distant cousin is on the show.
Really?
Yeah. She's one of the main characters on the show.
Huh.
I'm like, maybe I need to get into acting.
Yeah, I could
play a handsome Puerto Rican somewhere
along the way.
You would have to play my lawyer or get me out of trouble.
Why am I always your lawyer?
I don't know. You just have that look. You don't look like you would be like the biggest gangster on the show.
No, but
you could probably be a cool pimp or something like that.
Yeah.
That's as far as as long as you wear the hat in purple.
I'd look like a Caucasian prince.
Milk of magnesia, pimp juice.
But no, I did. I like the Mighty Ducks Game Changers. It's my pick of the week. I think if it's a good family show, you want to sit down with your kids, watch it, enjoy it. It's well-rounded. It shows a lot of Disney did it very well. So I'm excited to see where the show goes. It is a series. It's not a movie. And it's on episode 2 on Disney Plus.
So, one question about TV shows before we move on. You have Mighty Ducks.
Yep.
We had Cobra Kai.
Yep.
You have the Saved by the Bell reboot. You have a lot of these shows returning from our childhood, entertaining a new childhood.
It's great to see it.
That's awesome. Now, if we can get TGIF Fridays back, I'll be okay with that. But with the streaming world, I don't know how that would work. But when they bring back Hanging with Mr. Cooper, I'll be okay with that.
I want to see a Fresh Prince reboot.
They are talking about it.
I know they did a little COVID thing together, like
which was amazing. And the fact that they brought both Aunt Vivs.
Yes.
That was awesome.
And I didn't know he had such a conflict with the original Aunt Viv.
Yeah, they were they didn't like each other for a while.
But I don't see the series without Uncle Phil.
No, man.
That's such a loss.
Well, they're saying that the new version of the TV show, Will is going to play Uncle Phil. Like he's going to play that Uncle Phil role where he'll be Will, but he's
just in that role.
Phil. Yeah.
Okay.
And going back to our topic of the day, learning to be an emotional man and learning how to deal with it actually came from Will for me. I idolized Will Smith a lot, coming from Philly, being a rapper. When I rapped, he was one of my favorite rappers. I always wanted to be an actor in some shape or form. He was a family man that he was, and just follow the guy on Instagram, and he's so inspirational. And just the way you watch him deal with his emotions, you watch him just deal with things in such class. I mean, not too long ago, you seen the round table where his wife actually said some really things that hurt him, broke his heart, and he still has such class and deals with his emotions and then moves on.
Will Smith is a stand-up guy all around, and I think for me the best representation of Will Smith in any TV series or movie is the episode on The Fresh Prince where they talk about his father.
I've cried so many times.
Not being a father, and how Phil filled that void for him. And it was a very, if you ever go behind the scenes, he didn't script that. That was all raw emotion, right off the cuff, because his life mimicked the character that he played in several ways. So, and that was one of the aspects that he did grow up without a father.
When they had that reunion episode, they talk about that specific scene that ends the show, and he said that they worked on that scene all week.
Yeah.
And then he kept messing up the line.
Yeah.
And that frustration, he says that Uncle Phil, James Avery, grabbed me. He said, "You use me. You use me like I'm him."
Yeah.
And the final scene, I cried.
Yeah.
I cried a lot. But when he says, why doesn't he want me? And he starts to cry, he says, you see him flick his hat and he grabs him. And he says, he whispered in my ear, "That's fucking acting." Excuse my language, but I had to use it word for word from that. But he whispered in his ears, "That acting." And that scene is by far one of the best scenes that I've ever seen on a sitcom.
It was very well done. It stands out in my mind of one of the best, like you said, shows representing any raw emotion that we've talked about. And it showed a character that's very strong, very opinionated, very well rounded, and it showed him at raw emotion.
What was the movie that he did with his son? Not After Earth, the other one.
No,
where he plays Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness, yes.
That movie right there, I don't understand why it hasn't won, and it's more critically acclaimed than what it got.
And it's a true story.
And it's an amazing story.
It's a true story based on an actual gentleman. And, I talk about Jimmy a lot, but raising Jimmy, his mom and I divorced when he was very young. So we shared custody, and she was amazing, and she is still amazing at co-parenting and, helping raise our son. And I always related back to like when it was my time with him. We would sit there and watch that movie, and I just, that is my raw emotion, because I'm not saying I didn't have, I wasn't struggling like he did in life. That's not what I'm saying. It was just that bond with his son, and that you would do anything to protect your child.
That's kind of what that movie represents, like the length that you would go as a father to make sure your child is taken care of.
Yep.
Correctly.
Yeah. And it's a great movie, and kudos to Will Smith.
Oh, look, I am out of coffee. So let me put this down and reach over here and sip on my...
For those of you who are listening and not watching, please go to our YouTube channel so you can check out our newest items that we have.
It's our limited edition Funko Pop series travel mug. It does hot and cold. We will be selling these very shortly, along with t-shirts. And I do have my Wolverine hair. I did cut it off because it is hot now, but it will be coming back.
I do like the character, because my belly sticks out and his doesn't.
And he has a tan. You don't.
I know. I got to work on that.
These will be available very shortly. And we have mugs. They're very similar to this. They just won't have the fancy VIP gold.
No. And what you can do is follow us on our Instagram, our Facebook, any social media, as well as our YouTube page for information on how to order the products that we offer.
Definitely. And just so you know, if you ever want to be a guest and you want to promote with us, follow us on all the social medias, hit us. We have a friend of yours coming soon.
Yes, Wendy, the gardener, is going to be our residential gardener. I think we're going to talk to her maybe once a month or something like that over the summer. She reached out to us and she just said gardening with COVID really took off. A lot of people, you weren't able to do anything. They did a lot of gardening. A lot of people have questions about how to keep that green thumb. They started something. They just don't know how, it's a year later. You have a bunch of perennials coming up. You have annuals. What do you do with it? How do you run it? So she's going to talk to us about it.
The only thing that seems to grow in my yard are weeds.
Well, that's very true. I have a lot of that.
I got questions for her. We're
going to turn your green thumb into, it's a little tan, but
it's a tan. It'll be green.
We'll get it green.
And this week on this episode, we have our very first taste test and company today. We have Tina Tate
with the Brownie Pop Company, and we're going to talk about it here in just a few minutes. So stick around, listen, sit back, and watch us as we enjoy her brownies and discuss it.
Ladies and gentlemen, so for the first time ever on the pod, we're going to taste test a product on the air.
A local product.
From the Brownie Pop Company.
Yes, Tina Tate, who is the owner and baker of the Brownie Pop Company, spoke with us and gave us the pleasure of letting us sample some of her products and asked us to talk about it on the podcast, what we thought, and be honest, and just go from there.
They look magnificent.
They do.
They are brownies with Oreo. Wonderful color.
Different colors of Oreos. It looks like a regular Oreo, a mint chocolate chip Oreo. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
One brownie is really good.
That is really, really good.
Very impressed. Very impressed.
It's not heavy. It's a very, and I like the Oreo.
Yeah. I'm not a big mint chocolate chip guy, but I could eat this.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Very impressed. Well, I definitely would have to recommend them. The Brownie Pop Company. This is awesome. Very awesome.
Thank you for letting us try your product. And the Brownie Pop Company is a local bakery specializing in gourmet brownies and treats, including brownie pops. They bake from scratch and use signature recipes. They provided us with some of their treats today, as you can see. We've tried a sample of the Oreo brownies, and we really liked it. So awesome. Check them out on Facebook at the Brownie Pop Co. LLC or on their website, which is www.browniepopco.com. So shout out to Tina Tate, who's the owner and baker. Thank you.
Beautiful. Tasteful. Well, I hope you enjoyed everything of this podcast. Brownies were great. How do you feel today, sir?
I feel full from the brownies and the coffee.
Coffee was good.
But
coffee goes good with everything.
Yes. The brownies were excellent. And we really want to thank Tina for reaching out to us. And for the Brownie Pop Company, check them out on all their social media that we talked about.
I'll have everything flashed up on the screen. I recommend them highly. Very good presentation, very good food.
And a very nice person to work with.
Yes. We have very special guests coming up very shortly. We have your friend coming up on our new segment where we have coming out about comic books. We'll be talking about that very shortly.
Yes. Should we talk about it now real quick?
Yeah, let's tell them.
All right. So I know a lot of people check out at different parts of the segments that we talk about. Some people like the sports, some people like the Marvel, some people like the topics. And that's okay not to like everything. We would prefer you to listen the entire time, but we understand when you check out, check back in, and that's okay. So what we did was we got a lot of feedback on how much some people liked our comic book discussions.
They're just like us. We're all comic heads. So we started a new segment called Coffee and Comics.
We're going to release that on Wednesdays. and this regular podcast on Fridays.
So you'll be able to tune into what you like, and we have a little bit of things for pretty much everybody. So comic heads can assemble on Wednesdays, and everybody can enjoy laughter on Fridays.
And Colin, our friend, is going to join us on the third episode of the Coffee and Comics. And we're going to have a nice chat with him. He's a big comic head and very well spoken.
I think comic off.
These two I'm going to be lost. When the two of you start talking, I'm just going to check out myself.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We're just trying to diverse our conversation with everybody, just so we can appease everybody and just have great conversation with anybody with any topic in the world.
So join us. Reach out to us. We'd love to interview you. We'd love to talk to you.
Oh, that is another segment we're having. Coffee questions. If you have a business and you would like to have an interview, we will have coffee and questions. You would either have an interview with myself or this handsome face. Help you promote your business. With that being said, this is the Coffee Break Podcast. We just want to have fun and enjoy. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
I forgot I said I was out of coffee.
I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of the Coffee Break Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast streaming service. And of course, follow us on all social media platforms. And like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in to the shenanigans.
Thanks for tuning in to the Coffee Break Podcast.